Alright gamers, it is time to squeeze out every last drop of performance out of the now famous GTX 1660 we bought in the €200 Marvel Rivals PC video. And personally, I think that this GPU is way overpriced because its market price is around 70 to 90 euros, when for this price you can get the RX 5600 XT. But maybe I'm wrong? Grab your RGB snacks and let's dive into the benchmarks. And first up, how about Marvel Rivals on 1440p Ultra? Yeah, more like 27 FPS cinematic movie, but drop that to low and throw FSR on balanced, ooh, 60 FPS. And on 1080p resolution, we're also comfortably sitting at a respectable 58 FPS on high settings, but I think that low settings is the most pleasant to play out of all, with around 86 FPS on average. And with this graphics card, you probably all have to understand and like temper your expectations, because the key of happiness in owning a 1660 in 2025 is just having low expectations of this card. And when you set everything to low, it actually can surprise you. Let me show you an example. Because like 1440p on Fortnite and epic settings, yeah, that's a lag simulator right here, because we got 36 FPS. But then when dropped to 1440p low, you will be genuinely impressed by over 200 FPS on average that this GPU is capable of pushing. Although for the majority of gamers, 1080p high is probably the graphics settings you will try out first and be like, okay, let's go. We're getting 60 FPS or something. But once again, you drop it to 1080p low, and for some reason, yeah, you get the same FPS as on 1440p, slightly over 200 FPS, which is great, no? Well, at least in my opinion. Yeah, but it still makes me question why this thing is so expensive on the used market, because we're getting like RX 580 8GB performance levels for twice the price. Because for example in Stalker, oh yeah, Stalker 2, which is a true challenge for any graphics card, with 1440p high we're dragging the 1660 down to also like 29 FPS or something. But enabling FSR 3.1 with the balanced preset and 58% resolution scaling, this increased the FPS to around 50, but it felt like having 200 ping or something. Like I move the mouse and only half a second later it moves in the game. So yeah, very high latency. Dropping the settings to low seemed to help, because the frame rate dropped by half and it actually started to feel good. But 1080p on the other hand was quite a different story, because 1080p high got us an average of 58 FPS, and when dropped to 1080p low we got an average of whopping 87 FPS. So yeah, thank you AMD for saving the 1660 with FSR. Indiana Jones is a no-go for GTX cards, as we learned in the previous 1080 Ti video, and Apex Legends for this graphics card is not a problem at all. Even at 1440p high settings we were able to easily push above 60, and switching it to 1080p high, this will allow you to play competitively, almost hitting the high refresh rate monitor area. On Cyberpunk I hit this random invincible wall. Like, what is this? Speaking about the 1660, it held its ground, like this wall, because I couldn't go past it even at 60 miles per hour. But yeah, back to the graphics card. So as for the settings used, of course using ray tracing would not probably be my brightest idea, and on 1440p Ultra, yeah, you're looking at around 30 FPS. Playable, but far from ideal. Medium settings got us an average of 50, so the only way to get over 60 FPS on 2K is on low settings, and dropping it to 1080p high brings the performance level up to 61 FPS. So yeah, with additional tweaks like enabling FSR, you can make the game very smooth and playable without a doubt. Now, we have Counter-Strike 2. And not getting a high refresh rate experience in this game would not be good for our little warrior. But there we have it. On esports, it somehow manages to get its job done once again. 1440p high delivers us an average of 108 FPS, and on low settings it more than doubles to 250. And if you drop it down to 1080p, you'll be seeing a solid figure of 153 FPS average, with 77 as 1% lows, although probably everyone cares about 1080p low. So there you have it. This GPU is capable of over 3 300 FPS on average. Just pay attention here that all the time the GPU's VRAM is utilized to the brim, even on 1080p low, which is slightly concerning. Valorant and Siege ran great on this, like on most builds, so let me roll the benchmarks really quick here. Warzone was running fine on 2K lowest settings, but this proved that the 1660 isn't, and to be fair, was never intended to be a 1440p gaming card, because on 1080p lowest settings, the frame rate very noticeably increased to 100. Forza Horizon 5 brings stunning visuals to the table, and the GTX 1660 doesn't disappoint. On 1440p Ultra, the card delivers 62 FPS on average with 1% lows of 43.5, and dropping it down to 1080p Ultra pushes the average to 79 FPS and 1% lows of 65.2. And in PUBG, the GTX 1660 tries to stand its ground, and on 1440p Ultra, the card averages 51.8 FPS, though 1% lows dip to 19.6, which can feel really choppy during intense moments. Switching to 1080p Ultra raises the average to a much smoother 63.4, and especially with 1% lows improving to 32.8. Although it's not perfect, lowering down the settings even further can provide a competitive experience. Wukong recommended settings were super sketchy, like this area I can't get past for over a month now, like someone give me some tips or something, I don't know. But for example, on 1080p high, the frame rate boosts to 62 and 52 1% lows, which you would say is amazing, right? Yeah, on 36% TSR resolution and with frame generation, which is what, like 360p or something? When was the last time you watched a YouTube video on 360p? Not a great experience, I would say. So what I did next was put everything on low, 50% TSR resolution and frame generation off. So the 1660 managed to put together 87 FPS on average. And for those curious to know what the actual performance of the 1660 is with 100% resolution scaling, well, it is capable of 45 FPS on average on 1080p lowest settings. So yeah, and as for 1440p, even with 50% TSR resolution, the 1660 barely hits 60 FPS on average. So yeah, 5600 XT for the same price would be vastly superior, especially here. So yeah, Wukong basically perfectly summed up this GPU. The 1660 on AAA games and native resolutions is cooked, like done for. But with the right adjustments and some tweaking, it can deliver good gaming experiences across a variety of modern titles. On 1080p especially. 1440p though, quite a stretch. And after testing everything today, I understand that this GPU is good on esports, but I mean, RX 580, 50 bucks or something, hello? But for the price, I still have not changed my opinion. I really don't understand why this thing is so expensive on the used market. Maybe the buyers think that the 1660 is more powerful than 1080 just because of the higher number.
I'm not so sure.
Anyways, just don't buy it brand new for 160, please. It is simply just not worth it. Anyways, enough yapping. Thank you for watching. Cheap bastard out.